Don't be surprised if the Georgia Bulldogs have 5 players drafted in the first round of the NFL draft in April again this year. Last year, that's what we saw. You saw Jordan Davis, you saw Trayvon Walker go number 1, Lewis Seen, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, 5 defensive guys. Don't be surprised if you see a mix of offense and defense. There's at least going to be 2 or 3 Georgia Bulldogs drafted in the first round for sure, I think. But it could be 5. I'm looking at a mock that has 5 guys. These 5 guys behind my, above my head, rotating. All 5 of them could go in the first round. Jalen Carter, obviously a candidate to go first overall, but who else might get taken in those first 32 picks? I think there's only 31 this year. Forget which team was sanctioned, but I think there's only 31 picks this year. 32. 32. But they could do it again, and that would be impressive. I don't know if that's ever been done before. 5 guys twice in a row. It'd be something. But don't be shocked, and you heard it here first, that it might happen. Ryan Curley from Dog Post talking about the NFL draft. I love talking about the NFL draft, and the Georgia Bulldogs are having a lot of players drafted in the last few years. So I get to talk about it. Make sure you're checking out Double Dogs real quick before I get into this too big. This video is on Sunday. I recorded this on Saturday. This is a Sunday video. All right. So by tonight, Sunday the 29th, you got to do it before midnight. If you get Double Dogs, you get a little bit of confetti as well from the ground in SoFi Stadium. And I know because I'm the one that picked it all up, most of it. So I probably did that for you. So make sure it's a good deal. Just a unique thing for you guys to have. And this is really close to being out to you guys. I promise. I promise it's really close. So who else other than Jalen Carter? Because obviously he's a candidate to go number 1 overall. I don't expect Jalen Carter to slip outside of the top 5. All right. What are the Bears going to do at 1? There's rumors that they might trade Justin Fields and go after Bryce Young. I don't really think that's going to happen. I think that the most likely scenario is that they trade down and a quarterback gets taken first and Jalen Carter gets picked somewhere between 3 and 5. That's what I think is probably going to happen. But if the Bears stand pat, I would imagine they're picking between Jalen Carter and Will Anderson, in which I've seen most mocks think that it'll be Jalen Carter. I would take Jalen Carter. There's nothing wrong with taking Will Anderson at number 1 overall. If that happens, no one should judge the Bears for that because he is like that caliber player, right? You can't go wrong with Jalen Carter and Will Anderson. They're both studs. I think that the way Jalen Carter impacts the game is very special. Keely Ringo, I've seen him taken anywhere between like 8 and 20. There's a couple other corners that he may not beat out. I know one of them is the kid from Oregon, the South Carolina player. Those are the 2 corners that, Cam Smith and I think it's Christian Gonzalez. I'm blanking, but those 2 guys may get picked over Keely. Keely could get picked over them. He is a guy that made them, that was on the positive end of one of the most iconic plays. It's the play, right? The pick 6 in the national championship to seal the deal. Right? That's the moment. That's why it's the cover of Dogstruction, from last year. It was the moment. He was the moment. And he had a good Georgia career. He did play 2 seasons. Obviously, freshman year, he was hurt. I believe it was a foot injury. And he got a lot of hate for going up against big receivers, allowing some touchdowns, allowing some yards. He got a lot of hate. Do I think he's like the best corner ever? No, but I think he's very talented and physically talented. He's off the charts. And he told me he runs like a 4.35 or something like that. I've seen. I saw the rumor the other day that he ran like 26 miles per hour, something like that. He is fast. He is big. He is physical. Something that is common in this draft class, all the corners are also big and physical. So it's interesting how that's going to play out. All these guys are like 6'2", 200 pounds. So all big physical corners. So it's interesting to see how that'll play out. Keely Ringo, obviously the most popular one out of them, just because, 1, he plays for Georgia, 2, the moment and all that. He has made some spectacular plays as a Georgia Bulldog, and he certainly will, I think, will get picked in the first round. Someone who I think is going to fly up boards the most, this mock that I'm looking at from CBS has him at 22 to the Chargers, who just took Jamari Salyer last year and has played really well left tackle in the absence of Rashawn Slater. Broderick Jones, I think, is going to test off the charts. You don't see that many you can't see that many offensive linemen's jawline, right? Physical guy. I'm pretty sure he never allowed a sack in his time at Georgia. 6'4", like 300 pounds. He's lean. He's athletic. He's going to test really well. Don't be surprised if he's the first tackle taken off the board. Don't be surprised. Now, I know the Northwestern guy is a really popular one. He's getting mocked in the top 10 a lot, Skoronski. But if Broderick Jones tests off the charts, don't be surprised if he gets picked in the top 10. I'm just saying. I've been saying that for a long time. It could happen. I certainly think he'll be a first-round pick. Those are kind of who I think are the three locks for Georgia in the first round. And the two up-in-the-air ones, in my opinion, Nolan Smith and Darnell Washington. Now, for Nolan, you get a guy that really can play three downs as an outside linebacker, someone who I think is a better run stopper than he is a pass rusher, but he certainly was the best pass rusher on Georgia this last season. He just didn't get to finish the season. Obviously, the pec injury against Florida. So, I mean, he was leading the team in sacks before that. I believe Michael Williams ended up leading, but he... in this mock, I'm trying to see where he is in this mock, because I'm just curious. Like, this one has him going 27 to the Cowboys, right? I think Nolan is an amazing locker room guy. I've never been in the locker room with them. I just know what I've been told, and I know what I see. He was a de facto coach once he got hurt, and he was a de facto coach before he got hurt. This is a guy that every time I was able to go to practice, he is the loudest guy. Outside of Kirby Smart and Todd Monken, right? And Glenn Schumann and all those guys. He is, out of all the players, the loudest one, the rah-rah guy, the guy that's not afraid to say what's on his mind. And I thought he was great in run stop this season before he got hurt. I thought he was great in run stop. It's something that really stuck out to me about him. The off the field, or on the field, I'm talking about not playing, but like the coaching and all that stuff, he is different. He's different, and he will add to that. Dude was a top 2 recruit, finally started playing like it later on in his Georgia career. He flashed moments. I thought his sophomore year was his worst year. If you want to say he had a bad year, he didn't really have a bad year. But then the other one, Darnell, right? This is the guy who I can't decide if he's going to be a first-round pick or not, because it's interesting. Tight ends don't always go in the first round. We've seen first-round tight ends. Obviously, you saw Kyle Pitts a couple years ago. I'm trying to think of some other first-round tight ends. I'm pretty sure Evan Ingram was a first-round tight end. There's been a few of them, and I can't think of them, but off the top of my head. But it's not a position where 5 or 6 of them are going in the first round, right? Like a defensive end or even a quarterback maybe, or a tackle, or an edge rusher. This draft, I think, is a really good tight end draft, all right? The two guys that would get picked before him, if they do, in that position, are going to be Michael Mayer from Notre Dame, very good tight end, and then Dalton Kincaid from Utah, who's kind of my sleeper to go in the first round. I thought he had an amazing year. I can't think of the Utah quarterback's name, but they had a great connection, and Dalton Kincaid was really good. Now, what does Brock Bowers do that they don't? Brock Bowers is the size of LeBron James. I think he's bigger physically, about the same height. He is he is a tackle and a wide receiver and a 7-foot center in basketball kid. That's Darnell Washington. And what he does for the run game, the pass game, he's a dynamic player. Is he going to be a first? He's the only one where I'm like, I just don't know if he's going to be a first-round pick, just because I'm interested to see. Like, I don't think his 40 time is going to be crazy, but go look at the tape at what he does. The dude hurdles people. The dude stiff arms people. There's a play against Missouri. I always reference this Missouri game because so much happened. There's a play against Missouri where he catches the ball and the dude comes flying in, pounds him, and the guy goes flying backwards, and Darnell Washington's standing straight up. That's what Darnell Washington is. He is the guy at halftime against Missouri that told the running backs, get behind me, let's move the ball. He's a guy who came to Georgia looking for an opportunity, has kids, he was selfless. That's the kind of guy you want in your locker room. Is he going to be a first-round pick? It'll be interesting. I don't know if I think Michael Mayer would be the first tight end off the board. People are in love with him. I think Darnell will get picked before Dalton Kincaid. I don't know where this mock has either of them going. This one has Darnell going to the Jaguars, pick 25. I'm sure Trevor Lawrence would love that, right? But we didn't see him used in the passing game very significantly in his time in Athens. But we saw what he can do when he has the ball in his hands. You know what that guy is as a red zone target. It was always shocking to me how little he was used as a red zone target in Athens, or at least how little he was thrown to in the red zone. I think he only has 3 I think he has 2 or 3 touchdowns in his career at Georgia. But this is a guy, there's just, people like him don't appear very often in the world, right? And so having one on your football team that's going to help that much with run block and help that much just blocking in general, a locker room guy and a guy that just can do things that not a lot of people can do, I think he's first round worthy. It'll be interesting to see. If he's not going in the first round, I think he'll go in the second round. But him and Nolan are the ones where I'm like, okay, first or second round. I think Broderick Jones, Keeley, and Jalen Carter are all for sure first rounders in my opinion. And Jalen Carter, to me, is a for sure top 5 guy. He could go number 1 overall. And in that case, if that happens and the rest of them get drafted, in that case, Georgia 2 years in a row would have the number 1 overall pick and 5 guys drafted in the first round. That would be something special. Do you think it's going to happen? Where do you disagree with me? Let me know down below. Make sure you're checking out Double Dogs, and I'll see you at the site, dawgpost.com.